So this is part 2 of the 2019 Dodge Ram water pump replacement video that I did this morning. My name's Pat with RVA Mobile Mechanics here in Richmond, Virginia. So this is the water pump, the old water pump for a 2019 Dodge Ram 5.7 liter Hemi. Should work for 2019, 2020, and 2021 models, but this came off a 5.7 liter Hemi 1500 Dodge Ram 2019. So you got the water pump's held in by 10 bolts. You got a bolt here, 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 and here. That's 10 bolts. All these bolts are all 13 millimeter. There was one bolt that I took out right here that's actually a 17 millimeter, and it's there's a black bracket right here that holds the upper radiator hose and the AC lines. So you got to take the bracket off, take the nut off of this bracket. Then you got to remove the actual bracket from the water pump itself right here. It's a 17 millimeter. That bracket's got the upper radiator hose and it attaches to some of the AC lines. Then you got the belt tensioner right here. You actually got to disconnect the serpentine belt tensioner from the water pump. It's held onto the water pump with a 17 millimeter bolt. First, you got to relieve the tension on the belt. So you use a belt tensioner tool. This is the one that I use, 3/8 drive. Put it in the tensioner. Adjust the tensioner counterclockwise to the left. Take the tension off the belt. I just took the belt all the way off, but you don't even need to do that. And then you got to actually take the belt tensioner off of the water pump with a 17 millimeter bolt. So once you do that, you go around, you take all 10 of these bolts off. They're all 13 millimeter. Then you gotta disconnect the upper radiator hose. This is the thermostat that goes in here. It's two 13 millimeter bolts. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this bracket being held on with a 17 millimeter, on the top there's a 13 millimeter bolt that you gotta take loose off of this bracket. Then you take the entire bracket off of the water pump, which is a 17 millimeter bolt right here. So take the thermostat housing off with the two 13 millimeter bolts. Then you got a radiator heater core hose here you got to take off, just a regular C-type hose clamp. You got another heater core hose right here that you got to take off, same type of hose clamp. You got the lower radiator hose, same type of hose clamp. And then you got a fitting right here. You had to take the fitting out of the old water pump and install it into the new water pump, and I just used Teflon tape for that. You got a small, I think it's the radiator expansion tank overflow tube that goes into this fitting. This fitting, I believe, was a 15 millimeter or 17 millimeter. And then, last but not least, you got the coolant temperature sensor right here. You got to remove it from this old water pump and install it onto the new water pump. I think I used a 19 millimeter socket to remove that from the old water pump, and I installed it onto the new water pump using Teflon tape. You can use thread sealant. I just didn't have any, so I just used Teflon tape. But this is the coolant temperature sensor that goes right here. So yeah, I mean, there's really not too much to it. You just got these two bolts right here. I think one of them had a bracket bolted to it, but I couldn't remember. But the water is very simple, guys. It took me 2 hours. Could have done it quicker if it wasn't so hot out today. This water pump's held on by 10 13 millimeter bolts. You got to take the belt tensioner off of the water pump with a 17 millimeter bolt. You got to take the coolant temperature sensor out. I believe that's a 19 millimeter. You got to take this overflow expansion tube fitting out. I think it's a 15 or 17 millimeter. You got to take the thermostat housing off, take the thermostat out, put it into the new water pump, and then you got to disconnect one hose, 2 hose, 3 hose, 4 hose, and then the 5th hose, which is a low radiator hose. And then the once you put the serpentine belt tensioner, the thermostat, the coolant temperature sensor, and the new fitting onto the new water pump, you can go ahead and install the new water pump. As far as the gasket, we got this. The gasket's actually still in here. The old gasket, you can see it. The water pump, the new water pump came with the gasket. I try not to. With this, you obviously don't use any silicone or RTV. I hardly ever use RTV anymore. I just use Permatex spray adhesive. Works for pretty much all gaskets. So I just took the new my spray adhesive, sprayed around in here, got the spray adhesive in here, and then just put the new gasket into place and just made sure I held it down evenly. It takes about 2 minutes to dry. Once it dries, I mean, it's a pretty good chance that it's going to stick and not slip off when you go to install the new water pump. Anyway, not much to this job, guys. Just let me know what you think of this video. And like I said, all my future videos from here on out, I'm going to actually try to record myself actually while I'm doing the job. But this one, I just decided to make a video after the fact. It's Pat, RVA Mobile Mechanics from Richmond, Virginia. Let me know what you think.